Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. My name is Andrew Robel, and I am the founding partner of Emerging Europe and the lead of Tech Emerging Europe Advocates, part of a global network of global tech advocates. Today, we are launching the Ukrainian chapter of Tech Emerging Europe Advocates. It was not supposed to be like this. This was meant to be a hybrid event with the local tech community joining us in Kiev at UNIT.City, a place where a lot of innovation was born. I was planning to be at UNIT.City with a group of my colleagues as well. When Russia invaded Ukraine last week, we were not sure whether we should go ahead with the event, but with our TEA ambassador to Ukraine, who will join us quite shortly from Kiev, we decided not to cancel and continue with the launch online in order to demonstrate the strength and the resilience of Ukraine's tech industry. 3 weeks ago, at the Diaz summit, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and the country's Deputy Prime Minister for Digital Transformation talked about growing the technology share of Ukraine's GDP from 4% to 10% by 2025, up to $16.5 billion US dollars, making Ukraine the largest tech hub in Europe. A few weeks ago, the International Association of Outsourcing Professionals released its list of top outsourcers. 9 of these companies listed are headquartered in Ukraine, and several more have large delivery centers there. Some of these companies and their employees have now relocated, others work in basements and wherever they can. They are committed to delivering projects. So we jointly decided to continue the launch of the chapter today, as well as the Outlook on Digital Ukraine, a project that together with TechUkraine, the Ministry of Digital Transformation, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and the Ukrainian Startup Fund, is going ahead to help the entire tech community in Ukraine. We have seen a few comments on social media suggesting that perhaps now it's not the right time. We and the Ukrainian tech community disagree. Now it's exactly the right time to show resilience and community strength. So today we have prepared 2 sessions. One, we'll look at the tech sector as one of the pillars of the country's resistance and its great hope for the future. And the other about how GTA, the global network, can unite the global tech community to support the Ukrainian ecosystem. And in between, we'll speak with the TEA ambassador who is right now in Kiev. So let me introduce the first panel, and we're going to start with the session in a moment. So at the moment, we actually have 3 speakers already, 4 altogether. Great. Up to the last moment, we weren't sure who will be able to join us today. So before I introduce all the speakers, I would like to thank them for joining us on this occasion. So let me start with Dominic Poitet, I'm hoping to pronounce the name correctly, the CEO of UNIT.City, which I mentioned at the very beginning, Christopher Hartwell, or Professor Christopher Hartwell, head of the International Management Institute at the Zurich University of Applied Sciences. We also have Andrei Ligach, the founder and also professor of economics, strategist, futurologist, and investor and partner of multiple tech startups. And the last but not least, Natalie Vermeyet. I won't pronounce your name. This one is really difficult. The Tech Emerging Europe ambassador to Ukraine. So let me start with Christopher. I'd like to start with a question to you. If you look at the Ukrainian economy since Maidan, what do you think the role of the technology sector of innovation and IT has been when it comes to the country's growth, as you see it, basically, and where do you see the biggest growth opportunities and the biggest challenges as well?
Yeah, well, the tech sector has really typified the change in the structure of the Ukrainian economy since Maidan. Before Maidan, we had basically a kind of Russian state, quasi-state owned, heavily crony capitalist kind of economy that was reliant on political connections. The business environment wasn't very good. There were licenses, quotas for everything. Corruption was rampant. Ever since Maidan, we've seen a concerted effort to kind of tackle the business environment, to cut the red tape, to allow for more private property, more investment freedom, more trade freedom. This is the area where the tech sector thrives. The tech sector is about entrepreneurship. It's about not listening to your rules. It's about let's make our own rules, or let's not have any rules at all. It is true anarchy. And I don't mean in the sense we think of chaos, but in the sense of no rulers. It is an entrepreneurial spirit which requires a very open kind of business environment to survive. And once you start removing some of the shackles, as you did with Euromaidan, and looking west instead of looking east, then you've allowed the tech sector to really kind of grab a foothold. You can see this somewhat in what was once our brotherly neighbor in Belarus. But the only reason that the tech sector really thrived in Belarus was because the government forgot to look at it. In Ukraine, it's been different. It's been an opening of the space so that the tech sector can thrive, so it can survive. And it is really moving ahead. And it still has, in an independent Ukraine, it has the ability to kind of drive the economy going forward, even if it makes it to only 10%, like Zelensky wants. But even then, it is the exact sort of sector that you want to see kind of infecting everyone in terms of entrepreneurial spirit, in terms of joie de vivre, in terms of what can we do. And Ukraine, at least up until a week ago, and I still believe it is well positioned to kind of keep pushing the Ukrainian economy and an independent, Western looking Ukraine forward.
We're going to come back to this, this topic a bit later. Andrei and Natalie, I'd like to ask you guys how you see this change happening over the last 7 years. I think you're on mute, Natalie. Yes.
Okay, so let me start. So yes, I really see a big growth in Ukrainian tech sector over the last years, and this growth actually started like we have really good roots because one of the first computers in Europe was created in Kiev in 1951, and since then we have solid scientific base and solid mathematical schools that allowed us really to develop on top of this. And after gaining our independence in 1991, we managed to start doing business with the West. First, we started with IT outsourcing, and we did a good job. Our IT outsourcing companies are known. They are quite recognized in the West by its quality, by its maturity right now, because our IT outsourcing industry is moving gradually from just selling man hours to selling solutions, and also to provide some complex projects, complex solutions for end clients, not only to intermediary companies. Like our current numbers is around 250, 280 IT professionals in their industry, with the objective to raise this number up to 450 in several years. That's the objective of our Ministry of Digital Transformation. Our IT services export is the third biggest in the country after agriculture and I think metallurgy. Apart from IT outsourcing, so this is something that we started from, we of course developed products and startups, and one of the most famous products is Grammarly, our decacorn. We have 4 unicorns, and Grammarly is the biggest at the moment and quite well known in the West. Like Reface AI, Reface application, that's another example of a B2C segment. And our startups also experiencing the boost in its development, also due to the support from the government with the launch of Ukrainian Startup Fund that became, with the seed and pre-seed financing that became easier. So like a lot of events, a lot of communities, a lot of IT associations, and generally like also UNIT.City as one of like the first technoparks that was created in Kiev, and now they're having also their premises in Kharkiv, with the ambition to become the biggest technopark in Europe, actually, like because we just started building it, and there is still more to be done. So like really, and investors are coming in the country, and we see by the reports, we have the Ukrainian Venture Capital Association that is publishing yearly reports. We see how much these numbers of investors are changing and how much more investors are coming to the market. So just generally, and like also just forgot to mention DA-City initiative that was launched right before all our current events. That suggests one of the best regimes. So like generally, like IT ecosystem is really booming. I'm saying is because I believe, and I strongly am sure that this is going to continue, because I'm just, you all know that we have a very severe situation at the moment, and this is the war in Ukraine, the aggression from the Russian Federation. But we believe that we will overcome this hurdle, and with the support of the global community, we will be able not only to recover from the current crisis, but do even better, especially now that all the world is really admiring our courage.
Thank you very much, Natalie. I'll ask Dominic right now, because he's been well, he's not in Ukraine at the moment, but he's been in Ukraine in general for the last few years, straight from San Francisco. How have you seen? I mean, how have you observed the change in the tech ecosystem over the last few years since you moved to Kiev?
Yes, I moved to Kiev 3 years ago, and honestly, I saw an ecosystem that is thriving and that is maturing extremely rapidly. In UNIT.City alone, we have several acceleration programs, several incubation programs. We have an IT school, and honestly, I've seen this ecosystem booming literally in front of our eyes. So to me, it was a bit of a surprise, because I think, and we had those conversation a lot. Actually, it was one of the best kept secrets. Nobody really knew about this tech ecosystem. Of course, the world knew about outsourcing, but nobody really knew the quality and the depth of this tech ecosystem. And now we see not only amazing unicorns, but we see companies like Reface, for example, who were able to capture the attention of Andrei Senorovitz in the world. And so I've really seen this in a very short period of time, this ecosystem reaching to the next level, and that has been really fascinating for me.
Andrei, your view on what's been, what has happened over the last 7 years.
Some historical point. I was a developer of the first Ukrainian commercial software product. It was in 1991. And then I sold my software to Apple Computer, and it was the start of software development process, commercial software development process, Ukraine. But that time, 90s and early millennium years, Ukrainian software development was a very small part of Ukrainian economy, industrial economy, and the economy of Ukraine remains the Soviet-style agricultural and industry, metallurgy and chemistry industries economy. And even when the software development or IT sector, digital sector started to grow, we started to build this sector again, as a metallurgy sector or agriculture sector, as a sector for producing raw materials, raw brains for other countries, for other companies around the world, which made from these raw materials final products, commercial products. But looking on last years, we see that process dramatically changing. 2 years ago, 90% of Ukrainian export in IT sector was raw materials, outsourcing or outstaffing. Now we have less than 80%. It's dramatically changed. It was dramatically changed during last years. Now Ukraine obtained almost 20% of world market for game dev, development of games. The same situation for fintech startups, for AI projects, for projects connected with emotional intellect and other kind of projects. Besides, when we developed Ukrainian national strategy, which is actually realized by the Cabinet of Ministers, we found out that the key way for Ukrainian growth is digitalizing of traditional sectors of Ukrainian economy. Digitalization is a key of economic growth, and this interaction make approximately from 40 to 60% of Ukrainian growth, GDP growth, during next 8 years. This means that we can make our economy twice bigger during 10 years, only based on software development, digital projects, digitalization of traditional sectors, or IT development. Thank you.
So just one question here, to sort of responding to what all of you have said. So, what happened over the last couple, apart obviously from the strategy and the government realizing the potential, but what happened after Maidan, that this sector has sort of skyrocketed? Because it has, and it's an open question for to all of you.
The main reason is openness. Before Maidan, we had very oligarchic economy. Maidan was first of all small and medium enterprises revolution, which gave to these different sectors, different creative sectors, not only IT sector, not only digital or startup sector, but also for design, filmmaking, cinema, etc. A lot of possibilities from new kind of businesses, modern businesses. It is why IT sector started to grow dramatically. Then we had the liberalization in financial sphere and banking sphere. It gives us huge possibilities in, for example, cryptocurrency or fintech sector. Now Ukrainian banking sector, especially neobanks in Ukraine, are the most developed banks in whole Europe.
Anyone would? I could see Christopher nodding.
Yeah, no, Andre is exactly right. I think overlooked is something when you think about the tech sector, it's capital intensive. And it creates capital opportunities where you have massive investments in kind of infrastructure, which then creates the need for more massive investments. If you look at this from kind of, and I'm going to put on I can't take off my economist hat, but to just talk as an economist, you look back at like Joseph Schumpeter in the 1930s and the 1940s, who said entrepreneurs need capital. And this is crucial in the tech sector. And the fact that there was so much effort that was put into cleaning up the Ukrainian financial sector post-Maidan, I mean, it's it's still not exactly where we want it to be, but the fact that it made it into what we talk about in Econ 1 or Econ 2, actually, where we talk about kind of moving this kind of pool of savings to higher value assets. that's what it was doing. It was actually playing a role of financial intermediation. And this was after a concerted effort to clean up how creaky the banking sector was, especially you saw it during the global financial crisis. I think that is an excellent point, and that is something that's far too overlooked, the role of finance in tech. And you can't have that if you are still in kind of your crony in your oligarchic world.
Thank you very much for that. Natalie, I think you would like to add something, I can see.
Yes, I will go closer to some specific initiatives. Yes, and since I really am a strong believer in the power of communities, I know how much was done by different organizations. That is, IT Association, Ukrainian Venture Capital Association, Lviv IT Cluster, Kharkiv IT Cluster, other clusters also all over the country, and so like there is some grassroots initiatives, and all these locations were doing some projects to actually help drive the economy, especially the projects in education and also helping companies to export. Then we actually also saw like a big boost of development of the ecosystem, because the funds, the donor organizations started to help, and one of the like big ones is the latest launched was the competitive economy program supported by USAID, and also GIZ Ukraine was doing quite a lot to support Ukrainian tech sector. One of the initiatives was to create the first IT expert strategy, and I was the national coordinator for it. So I know that we gathered around 150 stakeholders, and we asked them, like, what is wrong, like what is still missing, and what we can do to help to solve that. And that was done in 2018. And after that, the Ministry of Digital Transformation was launched. I was kind of selling the strategy to them so that they are also aware of all the work that was done. And I saw a lot of ideas that were probably in the air, but maybe they also maybe read the strategy as well. So they launched a lot of this, like digital education and support to like seed and pre-seed financing. That was also like this Ukrainian Startup Fund was launched approximately at the same time, and then some other initiatives connecting to local industries, and like all these kinds of initiatives that actually helped. And I also want to also emphasize the role of UNIT.City, because I believe that they really were game changers, because at that time, that before technical parks were like supposedly just they were planned to be done by the government, and that was a very slow process, and it was not really efficient. And when Vasily Khmelnytsky just invested, the private investor, to UNIT.City, and actually showed the country like one of the first success stories about that how that actually is working in the West. And I think that was also quite a huge inspiration to the whole market, because that was the place where the first events took place, and it started creating the buzz and also this new culture of entrepreneurship that was also launched. And then we have all these different NGOs and different initiatives that are doing different things, like YEP, for example, is doing entrepreneurship. Then we have like clusters already mentioned, and we have this IT Ukraine, and they're currently working on education initiatives, because that's our next bottleneck. We have trade missions, and I was one of the together with the group of co-organizers, we created the National Pavilion at London Tech Week, and that's one of the first big pavilions showcasing Ukrainian tech to the West, and we did it together with Export Promotion Office, and we started to learn how to cooperate like business together with the government, because before there was the position like we're just doing our business, and government is separate and business is separate. And then we started really building bridges and understanding that government is also a very powerful resource. And I think our digital transformation, which I'm really personally very much inspired and really love what they're doing. I think that they're doing a great job and show us how the ministries are really could be efficient and how they can help the whole sector to grow. So I think that was also quite a big game changer.
Thank you, Natalie. I mean, you mentioned so many different things. I definitely relate to those initiatives those grassroots initiatives, and this cooperation between businesses and the private and the public sector. And another example of that was last year's Web Summit, in Lisbon, where there was again a Ukrainian pavilion, where actually I met again with Dominic as well, with a number of other people as well. I just wanted to go back to Dominic. I don't know if he can hear us right now, because I can see that his connection is excellent. So I wanted to ask you about UNIT.City as well, and can you give us some examples of what has actually happened at UNIT.City over the last few years?
Well, I mean, many things. We had more than 600 events, more than 60,000 people from 36 countries came to UNIT.City over the past year and a half, including the COVID period, which was actually interesting. Our coding school has the new batch of our coding school started a few weeks ago with more than 300 students. And we decided to develop a real ecosystem for startup, because I feel like this is one of the things that was missing, not only in UNIT.City, but in Ukraine in general. Like there's many excellent initiatives, but there was not a place where startup could meet and grow and learn. So together with UC Berkeley and a few other partners, including Amazon, Microsoft, JICA, USAID, the Ukrainian Startup Fund, we created Nest, and a big program called Bootcamp. We have currently 20 startups who are in UNIT.City, or who were in UNIT.City, going through this extensive program, driving them to the next phase of fundraising, because we end with a demo day, and at the end they do their demo day in front of investors. It's our 5th batch. It's been extremely successful. Most of our startups are not only still working, but they've raised several $million of combined capital, giving them access to new markets, giving them access to capital. And so this has been a very successful initiative. Actually, we're very proud of this, because we can bring experts from the world and bring knowledge from the world to Ukraine, not only from the US, but from Europe, from Poland, from Japan, from Asia, through our partner JICA, which been really something brilliant for us. And I think those are the initiatives that has a real impact, because you take entrepreneurs and you help them build companies, and you support them, and you go through the pain, but you also go through the discovery. And many other countries have been there before. Yeah, it's building a startup. We know how to do this in Silicon Valley, and we know how to fail. We understand, but we also, in some cases, know how to succeed. And for us, sharing that knowledge was something extremely powerful.
Well, I was I was at UNIT.City in November, when we last met in Ukraine, actually. And I have to say that it's a massive project. It's a massive project. It takes you quite some time to go from one end to the other, and to see everything. It took us quite some time to actually visit a few places, but it was quite cold when I was there. But there was so many different parts of that project in the pipeline, still planned to be developed. So, but of course, the situation that we are facing right now is a little bit different. And the last week, it's actually been this is the 8th day that Kiev and the whole of Ukraine is facing this invasion. How can you tell me how you have seen the tech industry being affected by what is going on right now? And it's an open question.
Maybe I can start. Well, I mean, regarding UNIT.City, we're not closed. We're still open. Actually, our cafe, UNIT Cafe, is serving free food for people who need food, and we have shelters. Unfortunately, we are right next to the TV tower that was bombed 2 years ago. So 2 days ago. So it's pretty much a scary place. But we're still up and running. I don't have very good news from Kharkiv because we've been hit by a bomb. So I don't know how bad the damage is, but obviously we've been hit. So look, the tech community is first, it's women and men who want to fight for their country, and it's more than IT-Schnick, we call them. They're women and men, and so most of my friends are just fighting. They're digging trenches, and they join the IT army, which is actually an excellent initiative from the Ministry of Digital Transformation. From what I hear, more than 200,000 people from not only Ukraine but from all over the world have joined the IT army, and I encourage you to follow this initiative. There's a channel, Telegram channel called RT Army Ukraine 2022. So I think, I mean, like all of us Ukrainians, and I feel like I'm part of us. We want to fight for our country, and so we're going to fight with what we know how to do, and where we're coding, usually we know also how to hack a little bit, this is also an information war. This is also an IT war. It's less visible because what we see on TV is the tanks and the bombing and the shelters, and but the background of this is also an IT war, and I think this is also where people should not underestimate Ukraine and the quality of our tech developers, because I do believe we have among the best in the world, and I do believe that the world will see that, including our enemies.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Andrei, can you elaborate on that? How how has the sector been affected over the last week, in your opinion?
First of all, I can say that now IT entrepreneurs in Ukraine are very rich people. Even in Forbes list, they can obtain approximately 20 to 30 positions from top stock positions in Forbes list in Ukraine. It gives them possibility to fund Ukrainian army, Ukrainian cyber forces now, and to be effective in making Russian sites, Russian banking system under attack of our forces. And this is a very first step. Second point is that unfortunately IT sector is very independent on places of location for their employees or their business as it is. A lot of IT developers moved from Ukraine for sure in order to save the company and their possibilities, but not 100% of them, not even 50%, approximately 20 to 30% of employees, IT developers moved from Ukraine. But again, this means that despite of development, despite of different kind of growth in this sector, we do not see influence on Ukrainian economy as we expected. That is why the state elaborated an idea connected with neighbour-City idea connected with special zone for taxation, for the rule of law, and etc. To make the place, territory, idea, place for entrepreneurs from outside of Ukraine. So the future of Ukrainian IT sector is not only Ukrainian programmers. who are very expensive. They have very good base, but they are US or Europe oriented. I can say that the future of Ukrainian IT sector is a multinational sector, multicultural sector. And unfortunately, war stopped this process, and we have very high risks for developing the real IT or digital clusters in Ukrainian physical sphere. It is why we need to think that new Ukraine is not only connected with a certain territory, and neighbour-City and Ukraine for IT or digital world should be widely represented in the world. And we are thinking and elaborating such models now. And I can say that thank you to this war, we will not go back to USSR, to the past. We'll go forward, and for sure the world will develop after this world. Cyberocracy will develop new structure of cybersecurity around the world, new economy based on virtual sector, virtual assets, and another kind of assets for the economy, etc. So this war is a last weeks of the old world, and the coming weeks for the new world.
Thank you very much for that. I mentioned in the beginning when I was starting this session, I said that there were voices saying that perhaps it's not the right time to actually talk about Ukrainian tech industry, and we strongly disagree with that.
It's absolutely right time.
Can you tell us why you think it is the right time? And this is a question again for you.
Ukraine, for sure, Ukraine will win over the Russian Federation in this war, but it's not a stop of the war between past and the future. For sure, we need to completely rebuild the global architecture of the security and economy and political system. For sure, Ukraine will take the very active part and even leadership in this process. So in order to fix our real win in this war, we need to have clear perspectives for Ukraine, not only European or NATO perspectives for our country, but also economic and global perspectives. Ukraine should be one of their most developed and most known modernized countries in the world. And now we should tell to us and to the world our ambitions to build the real modern country here in Ukraine. It is what we have on our flag of our being.
Thank you very much, Andrei. Dominic and Christopher, do you? I'll go back to Natalie in a second. Do you also agree it is the right time to talk about the industry in Ukraine?
If I could start on that, I think yes. Well, yes, yes, and no. The yes is, of course, everything that's just been said. That this is kind of a breaking point. This is you're never going back to the way things were. I think we can all agree that 2, 3 weeks ago we had different ideas about how Zelensky was handling the country, where his priorities should have been. I don't think we have that problem right now in terms of kind of unity. But in terms of kind of thinking about the future, this really is, I don't want to use the trite phrase clash of civilizations, but this really is a stark choice in which way Ukraine can go. A few years ago, after Maidan, when I was the president of CASE in Warsaw, I got laughs because I said that Ukraine needs to become the next Singapore. It's just the way it is. People were like, oh, it's never going to become Singapore. Like, that's not what I said. I didn't say that it has to be Singapore, that it has to have per capita GDP like Singapore. That'd be very nice, but it has to have the same approach. in terms of its business environment, in terms of its attitude towards industry, in terms of its receding of the state from this kind of Soviet or quasi-Soviet or controlled or market socialist or whatever you want to call it, kind of the approach that had been before. We know now that that is dead. Can you imagine if what is going on now had happened after Maidan? Ukraine would have been done for easily. It didn't have the economic resilience to be able to absorb such a blow, which is what it has now. And part of that comes from, as I mentioned at the beginning, from the tech sector. Part of it comes from the conditions that create the tech sector. And I think that is something that has grown roots in Ukraine, and no one can pull out those roots, not even Russian invaders.
Dominic, what's your view on that?
Well, I mean, of course, I can only agree with what has been said, and I am naturally an optimistic because I'm an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs are optimistic. That's one of the things you have to be when you're an entrepreneur. So I believe that that this war will end. I believe Ukraine will win. I actually do believe that Ukraine has won already in many ways. One of them being Ukraine being like everywhere in the news. Like now everybody knows about Ukraine. Not anymore a best kept secret. And I believe that it's going to be a huge reset. And this huge reset is going to start with technology because we're good at that. We have resources. We know how to do this. This is what we do. And so the future of Ukraine, actually, it's going to be huge acceleration. We're going to go 10 years ahead in very quickly. Now the question is not if, it's when. And this is definitely something that we don't know yet, and in what condition, how much are we going to have to rebuild, and those are the unknown. But I know that technology is one of the strongest pillar of Ukraine, of the future of Ukraine right now. So we will rebuild from there as well. Not only other things, but we will rebuild from there.
What I promised Natalie to also give us her view on that. So, what would you like to add?
Yes, thank you, Andrew. Yes, indeed, I wanted to give a few comments about, first of all, like how else the Ukrainian tech sector is participating. And I think like really, it already was mentioned, but I want to highlight that this is not only the military war, but the cyber war. And we have two armies working here. Like there is like the IT army managed by the Minister of Digital Transformation. That's 250,000 people, and 150,000 people are the internet army. So they are doing not only cyber attacks, they are just discovering and neutralizing fakes. They are doing these attacks. They are actually creating stories for all over the world, but also for Russian like civil population that has actually, I don't know, some distorted image of what is going on in Ukraine. So we are trying just really to knock in their minds and in their doors for them just to understand that what is going on is just outrageous, and this is something that should not happen, so that they could wake up and, I don't know, do something with the authority, because you can elect the president, but you can also choose to actually call him out. And this is actually what's happening, like the targeting, the marketing, all sorts of info, like reaching to them, and also reaching to our tech giants, international companies, with the request to support us by not providing the services to Russian organizations. And I know that in the West there were some discussions about whether it is needed to do such a severe thing. And my answer here is that yes, it is. And why it is needed? Because we need to create the tension for Russians, for them to understand that they are doing something really fundamentally wrong. And like this inconvenience, and this is something that usual Russians are just feeling in their everyday life will help them to understand that Russia is going not the right direction, and hopefully that will create enough tension just to do the change. Because of course, when we can't really cancel Russia at all, so they are still going to be our neighbors, but we want to have adequate neighbors, the ones that are not going to attack us anymore. So this is just going to be solved one and forever, and this is something that could be solved only by just changing all this structure, all these authorities that are currently operating and giving these criminal orders to attack our civil and peaceful cities and peaceful country, with no intention to have all this war and all this pain and all this suffering. So we had support of Starlink and Elon Musk. That was one of our big successes. Apple, Uber, Facebook and Meta, so really different organizations already are not providing services and not selling their products to Russia. And I'm actually also calling on all the community to do the same, because this really actually makes the change. And if you're reaching to them, then just create the push notifications in your applications, just to show the messages that this is wrong and this is not right. Because 20 years of propaganda really washed their brains really hard, really much, and we want them to wake up from this nightmare. And again, the tech system was also doing something else, like the funds are just donating, and companies are closing in Russia, and also the crypto community is very active. One of the first to support Ukraine and Russian aggression, just against Russian aggression, was Ethereum. That's one of their cryptocurrencies, and so like a lot of companies are really supporting. And yes, indeed, they are donating and they are providing other support. They're providing their workers and also communicating with the international community to deliver these messages. So this is all going on. And for the future, indeed, I believe that we do have the support and all the perspectives that were mentioned by the previous speakers. I really am very optimistic about the future of Ukraine. The only thing that we need to do is just to go past this hurdle to be able to develop further.
So my final question to all of you, in very briefly, because we are running out of time, what should the rebuilding process, it's still too early for that, but what should the rebuilding process start with, in your opinion? Christopher, Dominic, Andrei.
Okay, I'll start from kind of the more macro and economist perspective. The rebuilding process is going to take, obviously, international assistance in terms of the physical rebuilding, in terms of the infrastructure rebuilding, which is going to be vital for the tech sector. The next thing that happens is that Ukraine, because it's kind of faced to the edge of the abyss and comes out on the other side, is to then leave the past behind. And I mean entirely. I mean, coming back to kind of the Singapore model, is that it needs to be focused on business. It needs to be focused on the market. It needs to be open for business. It needs to outdo anyone else. It needs to look at Estonia. Look at how far Estonia has gone, not only in terms of its digitalization and its technology, but how did it get there? It went there through a period of really fast reforms in the 1990s. Openness. It needs to have its own Balcerowicz plan from Poland, where anyone can buy and sell anything. You can trade anything. It doesn't matter. Eventually it'll come back, but you need to seize this opportunity, and you need to make a sustainable economic model. And the only way you can do that is subscribing to individual freedom, to individual choice, to business freedom, to business choice. And then, and only then, will you have the economic depth that even if Russia sneezes in your direction, you will never, ever catch cold again.
Thank you very much for that. Andrei, Dominic, anything to add here?
Yes.
What should the rebuilding start?
Sure.
Andrei.
Sanctions on Russia or Belarus, it's not an answer for Ukraine. Ukraine should have clear perspectives for joining NATO European Union, but it's not a list of the helps for Ukraine. We need, first of all, contribution and recovery fund for Ukraine, not only to rebuild an old infrastructure, but to build a modernized infrastructure, energetic infrastructure for energy, for roads, railways, etc. Ukraine should redevelop sectors like industrial sectors to make them ready for the new economy. And again, it should be a result of this war. So we need of international support in this recovery plan, a Marshall Plan for Ukraine. It's a key issue now.
Thank you very much, Dominic. The last words on this session for you.
I couldn't agree more. And I actually do like the idea of a Marshall Plan for Ukraine. I think this is something needed, and so and I hope technology is going to have a big part in this.
Thank you very much, all of you, for joining.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. We didn't hear you anymore, but I would like to thank you all for joining us on this occasion. Of course, there's still a lot of unknowns, and we have to wait for them to be resolved. But I think it's important to start discussing the issues and also involve the global community in order to make sure that everyone is aware of that. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay with Natalie for a bit before we are joined by global tech advocates to talk about how this global community of tech entrepreneurs, founders, and specialists can help in raising Ukraine's the profile of Ukraine's tech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
Slava Ukraini.
Героям слава.
Natalie, so I'm going to stay with you right now because originally, just like I was saying at the very beginning of this session, we were supposed to launch the Ukrainian chapter of Tech Emerging Europe advocates in Kiev today at UNIT.City. Of course, our plans had to be updated, but we're still doing that. And I would like to ask you first, tell us where you are in the first place, because I would like to tell everyone that Natalie is actually the Tech Emerging Europe advocates ambassador to Ukraine, and she's going to lead the TEA community, the TEA chapter in Ukraine going forward. So where are you right now?
Well, I'm in Kiev, Ukraine, and I'm going to stay here. Like, I hope that this is still, I will have such a possibility because I believe that our hard work and our trust in our country and our trust that we're going to win, and also our energy and the support that we're giving with this energy is actually helping also our military to fight, but also us to really feel this, that we are on our land and we are not going to go, because this is really something that is very important for us to be able to build our future ourselves, the way how we see it and the way how we feel it. And this is like really our country, our land. And yes, so I'm just choosing to stay. I'm also respecting everybody who has a different choice because of course, like the situations can be different. I have 6 cats over here, so I can't really just abandon them and just and also can't move them anywhere. So this is also one of the reasons why I'm staying here. But also another one is that I think that really being on the spot actually helps me to get extra motivation to help my country.
So we actually saw one cat walking around on the sofa behind you at some point. I wanted to ask you about the TEA community and why you decided to join as the Ukraine ambassador. What do you think the community can do, and how the community can help?
Well, generally, I strongly believe in the power of communities. I started gathering communities in 2014 back in Donetsk, because I'm originally from there. So, like, current crisis is my second wave. I had some not similar experience, but some experience already in Donetsk when the bombings also started there, and Russia like invaded and just grasped the first bit of our territory, which actually launched all this hybrid war that was going on for 8 years before it just went into this active stage. So I gathered then the community of directors of IT companies, and they needed to leave the city and also relocate their employees and their families of their employees. So some of the companies had to relocate up to 90 families, and that was already quite a logistic challenge. So having a community where they could actually at least share their insights and share their approaches and psychological help each other, I believe also helped them just to overcome this hurdle. Then I was doing the same in Lviv, and that also helped me to get over all this stress, also gathering the community of directors of IT companies. And then in Kiev, when I was studying at my MBA, and by the way, Andrei Ligach was one of my teachers of marketing, so I'm just really was very fond of his lectures. So at that moment, I was writing my diploma paper on clusters and also how they are developing and how these connections of different organizations are actually boosting the whole ecosystem. Because like ecosystem is when there are different players, and by building closer communication ties and closer connections, you are actually fostering the growth and you are driving this. And there are two like contrary trends here. There is cooperation and there is also competition. So people, like companies and businesses, are naturally competing with each other, but at the same time they're sharing their best practices, and that actually like helps and whiplashes the whole sector just to develop faster and faster. And this is exactly what is happening when the communities are being created and they are empowering the ecosystem. I was then doing the Kyiv cluster with the same objective, and currently we're doing TechUkraine as a portal to share the information about Ukrainian tech sector, but also like running our local community, TechUkraine Changemakers. But I believe that with Tech Emerging Europe advocates, we can go to the next level, because this is not just a local community. This is the community with the global outreach, with other chapters in different cities, in different countries, and in different on different continents, which is like really awesome and very inspiring, very exciting. So I believe that with this launch of this chapter, we are putting this community cooperation on the next level. So I just am expecting to connect our local communities to this bigger community, and this bigger community to the rest of the world. Because of course in Ukraine, we definitely want to be part of the global processes. We want to join the communication. We want to lead maybe in some processes or share our knowledge and like everything that we already accumulated with the rest of the world. We want to add value to the rest of the world, not to follow only like and just try to catch up, but we also want to like believe in our forces and start to generate value for the planet, for the whole of humanity.
Thank you very much, Natalie. We're going to jump onto another panel discussion in a moment, but before we do, I would like to invite everyone to look at Support Digital Ukraine, the initiative that Emerging Europe and Tech Emerging Europe advocates, together with our partners, are running at the moment. This was originally a slightly different initiative that we wanted to announce today in Kiev. This was called the Outlook on Digital Ukraine. You can see the partners here. They have joined us for that. And the goal of this initiative is to raise global awareness of the potential of Ukraine's tech ecosystem and reassure international partners that the startup, the tech and the startup and the IT ecosystem in Ukraine are worthwhile. Why offer support? Trust in the Ukrainian tech sector has been damaged. Contracts have been paused, and of course, new projects have been frozen. And there is, according to our recent study, about 300,000 people employed in the sector, and their livelihoods are at stake here. So please go to emerging-europe.com/support digital Ukraine for more information and for additional resources that can help you better understand what is happening in Ukraine at the moment. Thank you very much. Oh, I forgot about one thing. These are the elements that are part of this initiative. So editorial and multimedia content, tech media relations, and a conference that we are also planning to organize at some point whenever that will be possible. So thank you very much for that and for joining us today. Now, Natalie, over to you. Natalie is going to chair the other session that is taking place right now with global tech advocates leads from around the world, actually.
Yes. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Well, happy to see you all here, and just really in this exciting moment and in this really changing times. So let me introduce all our speakers for the second session, Global Tech Advocates, Uniting the Global Tech Community to Support the Ukrainian Ecosystem. That's the name of the panel. And so our speakers are Russ Shaw, the founder of Tech London Advocates and Global Tech Advocates. So hi, Russ. Thank you for joining.
Hi, Natalie. Great to be here.
Nice. Then Lenny Medina, the leader at Tech Bay Area Advocates. So hi Lenny, thanks for joining too. Andre Demian, co-leader Tech Netherlands Advocates.
Hi.
Hi Andre. Okay. Matthias Angel, leader Tech Berlin Advocates.
Hi, great to be here, Natalie.
Yes, great to see you also, Matthias. Welcome. Karima Catherine Gundiam, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this.
She should be joining us soon.
Okay, so that's Tech Canada Advocates. She's also the leader, and she will be joining soon. Yes, and Andrew Robel.
Robel, yes.
Robel, okay. Leader in Tech Emerging Europe Advocates, and yes, the platform founder, right, of Emerging Europe, and yes, Tech Emerging Europe Advocates. So welcome, Andrew. You're also staying here for, for some time already. Yes, so just really very exciting times and really very interesting moment because of course I know that the community is already existing for some time. Now it's just really the time to experience also like how it works in practice in this crisis situation. So my first question goes to Russ, naturally, as the founder of the community. So Russ, so you are the founder. So can you tell me, can you tell us, like the audience, a little bit about what inspired you to create this community? So what is behind that, and what objectives you put on this? Where did they change, and how it developed over time? So can you tell us generally about?
Sure, I'm very happy to do that, Natalie. But before I do that, I just have to thank you and the previous panelists for an incredibly inspiring session that we've all just listened to about your plans, your ideas, your aspirations for the future of the tech community across Ukraine. I had the opportunity to go to Ukraine twice in the past several years, not to Kyiv, where you are, but to Dnipro and to Zaporizhzhia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And I've met many great people there. The talent in Ukraine, particularly the technology talent, is incredibly strong. So, you know, it's fantastic to be with you here today in such challenging circumstances, and maybe just for our audience to know how determined you've been to have this event. We've all been checking in every day, wanting to make sure that all is okay. And every message that's come back to us has been, we have to do this event. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. In terms of global tech advocates, I guess this was something that started after I launched our London group. You know, it was about bringing a community of tech leaders together, all in a voluntary capacity, to get behind the startups and the scale ups and to really show the importance to the broader population about how important the tech ecosystem is. The London group took off far faster than I ever expected it to. And then we started to add different groups in around the world. And you're seeing here some of the great leaders that we have in our advocates communities in the Americas, across Europe, in Asia Pacific. And for me, an underlying philosophy behind all of this is that connecting and interconnecting tech hubs around the world makes us all stronger. We all learn from each other. We all collaborate with each other. And I think in particular now with what's happening with Ukraine and getting this chapter set up, which has actually been planned, I know, for quite some time, it's more critical now than ever to show the collaboration that is behind how this community operates. We now have we estimate we have at least 25,000 in our global tech advocates communities, and many of them are very excited about this event today and really want to demonstrate that they stand with Ukraine and they stand with you, Natalie, and many of the other speakers we heard from about how we need to embrace the Ukraine tech community now more than ever.
Thank you so much for this. This is really very inspiring, and yes, happy to join this community. And since we have the leaders from different chapters right now, I think I will have a general question to everybody, just to tell a little bit about your community, how you started it, like what is motivating you, why you are doing this, and like what actually, do you have any cases that you would like to mention, how your community, how creating this community in your country helped the ecosystem grow? So I'm just having this general question. You can just, I don't know, raise hands or start speaking right away so that we just get to know how it works in your country.
Lanny, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you very much for having this event. And the last session was very inspirational for all of us. I want to communicate from the San Francisco Bay Area, Greater Bay Area, Valley, that we are here for you. We are here to support you, and we are here to help you figure out how to take next steps. We are really in the land of wildfires and have had our own issues on a much smaller scale. And the reason I got into this group was one, a long friendship with Russ and great admiration for what he put together, which I first witnessed in San Francisco at Rocket Space. And when I walked in the room and saw how many people were collaborating, were trying to help each other and working for the greater good of the tech community, it was an easy leap to start Tech Bay Area Advocates. That was 6 years ago. Since then, we have continued through a lot of disasters, and we've continued through a lot of initiatives and you know, thousands of advocates and many openings of other chapters. And what I can tell you is that that collaboration, whether it's just the old-fashioned way of an email or looping into events, especially now that we are all virtual for the most part, it is very powerful. And the work continues. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when there was a study with different CIOs in around the world that Russ and HP put together. That was very important work, because that was an example of, okay, we have just been hit with something really huge that we don't understand yet. And it was, what are we going to do next at a C level, speaking for some very large side, and small companies as well. That is just one example of many. So I don't want to take too much of your time, but that we're here because we are together. We were together through the pandemic. We kept each other going, and now we are here for you. So we are here for Ukraine. We are here with our hearts, but more important, we're here to fight. We are here to, fight in a very logical, rational way and make sure that you're okay. And just as whether you're rebuilding from wildfires, but much more important, rebuilding from a war, we will help you rebuild in whatever way we can. So I will then lobby it off to someone else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Lenny. That was very powerfully said, and we're really super grateful for your support and for your good thoughts for us. And you can just take the floor and speak about your ecosystem. So who wants to be the next?
I could go. So, hi everyone. So Natalie, hi. So nice to be part of this. I have to say that for us, I'm sitting in Toronto, in Canada, and I represent the Canadian ecosystem. And for Canada, which is home to the second largest Ukrainian community in the world, you can imagine what this means for us, right? Our deputy prime minister is from Ukrainian origin. So I think there will be some ongoing conversation that I'm hoping to start with you, Natalie, and the whole global ecosystem, and see how we can support in depth. So just a little bit of background about Tech Canada Advocates. We started about 2 years ago, Russ, and we were bound and supposed to launch just when COVID started. So there's a lot of things that happened, in the past 2 years that halted everything. But what I've found with Tech Canada Advocates is we wanted to create a very specific ecosystem here. We didn't want to recreate another tech group. There's many of them. So TCA is really about acting as a link between the sectors in Canada and the UK that brings together people that are passionate about technology, the future of technology. There's a lot of links between Canada and the UK as well. Being part of the global network is absolutely important to us, and the positioning of the differentiation Tech Canada Advocates brings in. We focus on specific interest groups. We focus a lot in diversity. We also focus in Francophone, so French-speaking Canada, which is very, very important. And the youth in the tech space, the next generation of people in tech, and also other interest groups such as Tech for Net Zero now, with the Ukrainian tech and so on. So it's almost like a special projects that we want to focus on. So this is my take. And again, I want to echo what Lani said, what Russ said, what every speaker here is going to say is we're here to support and to bring you any support we can.
Thanks. Thank you very much for this also interesting speech. So for us, it's nice to see how different projects are being done in different countries, depending also on the specifics of the location. So thank you very much, Karima, Catherine. Yes, and thank you for joining also, because just I was introducing speakers, so I'm just happy to announce you as well. Maybe I don't know, Andrew, can you say something about the Netherlands? And I also heard that there were some cases of cooperation of the Netherlands with the Nordics, in some cases. Maybe you can also cover on that part. So how you already have this experience of cooperation, and generally how your ecosystem is developing.
Yes, and thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of this. I continue to be inspired every time we have these global get-togethers and seeing my colleagues of how interconnected we are, how we're all working on such similar but also different initiatives in our ecosystems. Tech Netherlands Advocates is fairly new in its development of our contribution in our ecosystem. We've recently launched a program for diverse founders, seeing the real need in the Netherlands when it comes to increasing diversity in tech and supporting female founders, founders of color, which get significantly less funding than all male teams and so forth. This was also inspired by indeed the initiative by Jeanette and Tech Nordics Advocates, her female founders accelerator program, and through this we are actively building our network here, are growing our community, but also doing something really important for the startups that could use it. We're also part of an initiative with a few other local partners in Rotterdam, where we are headquartered, that provides support to people fleeing due to the war. So we can help with visa and travel information, work permits information, legal advice, finding housing, finding office space. So, for anyone who is in this live stream and is interested in that and in the Netherlands, I would say please reach out to me via LinkedIn, and I'll do my best to connect you to the right people for those for that support. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Andrew. So for this, again, I see that different locations, different projects, and different focus, but still used to the ecosystem. So this really is nice to see. And so I think we had Matthias also. Do you want to say something from your side?
Of course, absolutely. Hi, everyone again. Matthias from Berlin. I have to admit that we are in the process of setting up at Tech Advocates Berlin, actually. And so therefore, maybe we are a bit in the same position as you are. Kind of, there is a small group already available. Yeah, I think we are currently in the process of mapping out what projects we'd like to do in the future. But I think what most important and what made me join these activities and the network really is that aspect of collaboration. I've been an investor for many years in venture capital. I'm an angel investor right now, and I see how important it is for founders to have the right investors on board, but also get connected to the right people. And that even most of course, it happens by accident because you just bring people together, yeah, and then magic can happen because you can connect the dots. I mean, you can only plan these things to a certain extent, and that's why I think it's even more important to be part of a global network where you can, be a facilitator for employees, for people, for tech people who like to join companies, or they're up for maybe a new challenge, or you have young companies that are striving for maybe potential customers or clients or even investors. And I think here being part, as a local group, being part of a global group is extremely helpful. And I mean, I see that every day that, if we're like in investors meetings or shareholder meetings, that it's always important to have everyone on board and being in a call, because only then, you understand, where's the need to do something, you can help and support. Of course, if you need help and support, you have to shout out. I think that's absolutely important, and that's also I would encourage you, Natalie, today to shout out at everyone if they need support, because if you don't do that, we just, we or the community doesn't know. So the first step really is raising your hand and say, hey, I need help. And it's okay if someone needs help. And then I think there will be many, many people that are there to support. And as I said, we didn't have a group over here in Germany or in Berlin. And Berlin is at least for Germany, is an incredibly important tech hub. And hence, and Russ can be also very convincing. It is okay. Why don't we actually getting started also in Berlin with the tech hub? Because there is none, despite Berlin being quite a tech hub nowadays.
Right. Thank you so much, Matthias, for this overview from of your Berlin activities. And I'm coming back to Andrew also to ask the similar question about Tech Emerging Europe Advocates, which is actually a huge region uniting various countries. So that's very interesting and ambitious initiatives. Andrew, can you tell more about that?
Yes. So our adventure with Tech Emerging Europe Advocates actually started a bit more than a year ago. We actually formally launched in November 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, and we organized an online launch. And some of the speakers that are joining us today actually, and I'm speaking about Lanny, joined us for that launch session back in November 2020, like I said, in the middle of the pandemic. The first time we were actually exposed to global tech advocates and London tech advocates was when we organized an event in the Nordics, and that was in Copenhagen and in Stockholm. And we were joined by Jeanette Carlson, who is the lead, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, but who is the leader of Tech Nordic Advocates, looking at 8 countries, the Scandinavian countries plus the Baltic countries. And she said, you guys are looking at so many countries in Central and Eastern Europe, and the potential, the tech potential of those countries is absolutely amazing. There's no way. You have to join Global Tech Advocates, and that's how it started. We had our first call with Russ soon after, and yes, like you said, it's been quite a journey, quite a journey, considering the time of the pandemic as well. But it's really powerful. I'm talking about the community, and I'll give you an example in a second. But like you said, yes, Tech Emerging Europe Advocates looks at 25 countries. So it's not only Emerging Europe, the original region that we cover, but it's also the Central Asian countries where tech is developing as well. But unfortunately, it's not. It hasn't been talked about globally as much as it should have been talked about. And I said that I would give you an example of that community and the power of these global connections that we all share here. This is not the first initiative that I have asked these fantastic people who have joined us today to join us. They've been doing that for quite some time already. And whenever there is some sort of need, both from us or from our community, they're always open to help, to connect. And I think that is what this particular group of people and the entire community, how it differs from any other groups that are out there. We actually had our ambassadors call only last week, literally one day before the invasion, where we were planning everything. And this was last Wednesday, not yesterday, but the week before. And we were discussing all the details of this launch. And we were actually talking about how other groups are doing, what the challenges, what challenges they are facing right now. And we were looking at how Global Tech Advocates actually differs from all the other groups. And I'm quite sure that my fellow leads will confirm that.
If I can just jump in here, Natalie, as well, because there is lots of messaging going on, and I just wanted to reflect that we have, I can see Gary from Tech Scotland Advocates is here, Annie from Tech India Advocates. We've just had a tweet from Tech Japan Advocates and Tech Nordic Advocates, the Albanian chapter of Tech Emerging Europe Advocates, the Global Tech Advocates Future of Work, just a few that I can see sharing and sending messages. People from Portugal, from France on this event right now, I think really wanting to get behind the launch of this chapter and to send and share a message to you, which is we want to help. And we know this is a very, very difficult and challenging time. I thought the rebuilding discussion in the last conversation was very insightful, because that is something where I think we can all play a very significant and collaborative role with you. So I just thought I'd share some messages from many of the others who are on this call watching.
Yes, this is absolutely mind-blowing from us in Ukraine, actually, to see such powerful support from all over the world. And this is I just can't really overestimate the importance of this. This is so vital for us, and we are so grateful just for the whole world to join these forces and support, and just to see how your community, like how my community as well right now, so our community is actually joining forces and sending us this loads of support that we are receiving. And I think that we wouldn't be so strong without you and without all your support. I think it is just this unity and this joining forces that makes this such a significant happening right now, also in our history, like in this current situation. But also your support gives us strength also to defend our homeland, to defend our country, but also to defend, I don't know, something bigger. I just feel that this is not only about Ukraine. This is just about, I don't know, about the values, the global values, the new future, maybe the future without violence, maybe the future without such wars, if we receive such powerful lesson from here. I really, truly hope that just this experience of uniting as a humanity, just to to fight together for justice and for balance, is actually something that is going to change the whole way how like the structure and the systems on the global level as well. So this is really very, very exciting times for us to live in.
Natalie, how can we help you and TechUkraine? I know that you're interested, first of all, in some donations, and we have posted the link to donate to TechUkraine through our newsletters, through our social channels. And, you know, I know the audience would love to hear more from you in terms of what we can do to help TechUkraine, other organizations that we can help, obviously financially, but through mentoring, whatever else. How else can we help you?
Well, right now we're in the situation of extinguishing fires. So there are some immediate needs that we are currently having, and then we are, of course, having already thinking about some future steps. So yes, so one of the most obvious things to do is really to donate, and we have different charity funds. You can donate to the army, but you can also donate to provide humanitarian aid. There are some other funds that are supporting different aspects of this ongoing conflict. Apart from donations, the second thing to do is actually also to help in communication. So we really need to have this global outreach to explain what is really going on in all your countries, so that just all the population really shares this vision and understands this. So we do have the communication, the press kit from our Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which we work closely together, and also Ministry of Digital Transformation. So our messages are verified, and there is a small group of PR people that are working on this, and they have the access to their own communities. So that's just this some kind of hierarchical model, and we do ask you to share these messages in your communities, and there are a number of them. So first, what is going on. Second, maybe some posters, some videos. So we have generated already quite plenty of content for different people to share in their social networks. We are also asking to reach to celebrities that have quite a powerful subscriber base, again for them also just to publicly support them. And we have quite a big list of celebrities already doing this. I won't mention them right now, but in the after mailing I can provide the details. We really have an really impressive list of them. And apart from that, we are actively giving interviews and sharing insights. So this is what I'm doing on the day-to-day basis at the moment, and other teams as well. So we will be grateful for contacts of media who want to write about the conflict and they're searching for ways how to do that. So we are welcoming them and trying to provide answers in a timely manner. So this is like our immediate needs. So apart from that, what we are really concerned about right now is not just to get a Russian army off our territory, but to create such a situation which will allow us to never have this situation again. So to just not to have Russia as a threat for our country and our independence and our democracy anymore. And we see that we can do this by actually reaching also to ordinary Russians to explain that this 20 years of propaganda was a lie, and they need to really to just wake up. And I don't know, there needs to be some transformation from within. We can't affect this country. It's a huge country with, I don't know, nuclear potential and with all this like weapons and things. But I believe that every country in its development are having their key moments where things like they really grow and change like people do. So in this way, also the countries are also growing and changing. So they need to really somehow learn this lesson, and like how they can learn this lesson. So first of all, the most evident, it just hits on their pockets. And for this reason, we really do support the sanctions, not because we want to punish the ordinary Russians, but we want to show them that something is going really, really wrong. And this is the way how they can feel this with their own money, because this is like most evident thing. So yes, we ask you to like put the pressure on your politicians just to get the sanctions, and like entrepreneurs stop providing services to Russian companies. They need to feel a lot of discomfort so that they can start thinking what is the reason of this discomfort on the global level. And like this is the objective, like just to create this situation. And if you can do some communication with I don't know, Russian entrepreneurs, Russian ordinary people, or even now since like Russian communication channels are all like state-owned, especially the TV channels, and there is a huge, massive amount of propaganda. Just I don't know if you're aware, but this is massive. This is like really, really huge. So and people were just having all these stories for years, and now we need in a short term just somehow to communicate them a different ways of thinking and ways of perceiving the world, and this. Our companies like inventing some new ways. For example, they're doing push notifications in their applications for Russians. They are like we have this IT army that is putting in those famous places on Google Maps the pictures about real losses, because Russians are not saying that soldiers are dying here, and there are more than 9,000 Russian soldiers already dead, and they are saying that their numbers is 400. So like it's just, so we are just trying to show that this is like something is going on, and you need to wake up and do this as soon as possible before serious damage is being done to our country, because we want this war to stop as soon as possible. So this is like our ideas, but maybe you have yours, or maybe you can share your vision about how you already are helping, or how you plan to help, or like maybe you can give us ideas how this can be done. And of course, we also had humanitarian aid, but we are covering more like this information aspects here at the moment, at this particular.
And we certainly will. And I think first and foremost, those of us here, those of us watching, will be sharing these messages from you. We have channels to do that. Some of them would probably not reach the audience in Russia that you would like us to, but hopefully on some of the social channels, some people might pick it up. But I think our focus is also mobilizing our advocates around the world. We all have our own websites and social media channels. We have an online magazine called GTA Connects. And I think, you know, looking at you and looking at Andrew, we should have a whole feature in that issue that we push out to all of our networks around the world to put your specific request into that messaging. So that is something that we can do very, very quickly. So, you know, through yourself, through Andrew and Emiliano at Tech Emerging Europe Advocates, you know, we're here. Get the messages out to us. We will certainly share those across our network. We have good reach with the tech community, and that's our commitment to you. And I'm sure the others would agree.
Absolutely.
If I can add briefly, yes, that's pretty much what the Support Digital Ukraine initiative is about. So if you need any information, you will find that information there as well. And if you can connect with us to help you reach both Natalie and the whole tech community in Ukraine, we'll be happy to help in that regard as well.
I have a more of a so everything political and information has been covered, and I was wondering, given the numbers of the tech community, I think you mentioned that there was about 300,000 people employed in the tech community. I would really like to hone in and look at how is it that we can actually help. What is it that the tech companies need? And I will go with the obvious. They need more contract. They probably need more connection, partnerships. But I'd like to hear it from you, both what they can offer, but also what we can offer them. And I think that will be very concrete from my perspective.
Thank you so much, Catherine. And let me probably quickly answer this question before we move on. Yes, so I was speaking about current immediate help, but generally we have three segments in our country. So first, like the former IT outsourcing industry, which is now like maturing to become like IT services industry. They definitely need more contracts, and maybe by us creating this community, we can actually find the right partners we can discuss how we can actually set this channel so that it works efficiently. And startups searching for investment and product companies just needs help and support entering new markets or selling their products to the local markets. On our side, we're developing our local markets, and maybe it will be also valuable for you then to create this win-win situation when we are also opening our Ukrainian market for international products. So just this can be discussed, and of course
absolutely.
We're interested in capital. We're interested maybe in startups registering and companies registering in our neighbour.City or just entering, like opening their premises in the country. We're interested in tech giants opening their R&D centers in Ukraine, because they are, of course, changing the whole way
dynamics,
the dynamics really
absolutely
much.
This makes perfect sense for me, and I would love to have a follow-up conversation with it, because I actually do have a solution that can help directly and specifically with that. But I think I'm going to echo the network, and the global network is absolutely powerful, so we're here to be supporting you.
And if I may add, and I understand that, and I think it's really a key step I'll take from this conversation as well. I want to echo to everyone. I mean, if we come across, and I at least have 2 or 3 companies in my mind, also I've invested in, and they do work with Ukrainian tech people that really encourage companies to continue working there and to continue these projects, to continue these contracts, so you can start more new contracts. And I think here, just to call for everyone sort of was watching here, is like, if you talk to companies that are, using services from Ukraine, encourage them to continue to do so. I think that's a very easy and very first step, to help you guys, and even encourage me to do more. I think that's all we should have in our minds every day when we talk to companies these days.
Yes, thank you, Matthias. Just wanted to add here that indeed our IT companies continue working even now, because it's really important to deliver on our obligations and deliver the projects. So yes, indeed, and they have these contingency plans for their businesses. So yes, thank you very much for this note. It's really very important for us to keep our industry up and running.
Absolutely.
Hey. Hi, Lanny here. There's a collective of obviously the big tech companies who are on their own walk of what they're doing and working quickly to get out of Russia, but also to understand the impact of people that they have in Ukraine. We also have a Ukrainian citizen. Her name is Natalia Anon from Svitla Systems. It is a software development company. It's rather large, so they have about 300 people in North Bay. And they also have 500 employees in Kiev.
Mm-hmm.
So she is very busy at the moment with the Ukrainian consulate, trying to make sure everyone is okay and staying in touch. As she gets less busy, she will be part of this collective and working, and we are sort of in the middle of this hub. So those are some solutions, because that is just one example of what can happen, and how we really are very much connected. So if you don't know her, I will connect you.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Lani. Anybody else wants to cover this topic? Okay, so generally, it's clear how that the community is powerful now, and it will be like powerful later. I think that in some period of time after the war is over, we can have another conversation just to share insights about how we can cooperate further, because now that is like one stage for us, and then after we're done with this, we will be thinking in more details about how to grow this. But I definitely have the feeling that Ukraine, after all this experience, is going to like really become like a boom and flourish. I really have this feeling that something is going to drastically change, but not only in our country. I think this process is going to touch almost the whole world. And you actually, I don't know if you mentioned, if you noticed that now COVID is not so active like as a topic anymore. So it feels that
disappeared.
and now we're getting new challenges, and that it seems that our civilization is actually passing through a set of tests, and maybe to bring us to, I don't know, to some new really level, and to see how we're coping, cooperating together as a humanity. Andrew, do we have still more time? Because I was not following exactly.
We should be sort of closing. So if someone wants to add their final sort of thought, we're happy to have a round of short final messages, and we're always open. If anyone wants to help in any way, there's always a way of reaching us, and we are this sort of connector. So there's always a way of connecting with everyone. So final thoughts from everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, Natalie, I can only agree, and I think there needs to be something good in this, even though it doesn't look like it, obviously, right now, and probably also not the next days. But I think everyone is with the Ukrainian people these days. I think the Ukrainian fight now for the freedom, and I think it makes us come closer together, and we just need to make sure that we'll keep that spirit up also for the future. And then once the war is done and you have your country back, then we can also support and we keep up that level. I think that's the hope I would have. And we saw so many even political policies change within 4 days that wouldn't have been unimaginable like a week ago even. Yes. Speaking also for Germany or Switzerland, I think it's tremendous, and there's many countries, and so this has to be the good in it, that the Western free world is just moving together, staying together, and then also fight together. So that's probably my closing remark, and then please stay safe.
Yeah. Thank you so much. These are so powerful words, and especially about the politics and everything. It's just something that is happening right now. It's just, for us, this is mind-blowing, really.
Yeah. So let's not be strangers. Let's continue to speak, right? Russ, I know that's not going to happen, but...
I don't think it can happen in this community, but...
I know. But and Andrew, you're so great at reaching out too. So keep letting us know how we can help concretely,
Okay.
We'll definitely do that. Anyone else wants to say something? Andrei, Lani?
Yeah, agreeing on what my colleagues have said. The global solidarity for Ukraine, I find really inspiring over the past few days, and to see that as well in our network of GTA and discussing how we can collaborate to support you all. It gives me a lot of energy and the hope as well for the future. For anyone who's missed the beginning of the session, I'll repeat that if anyone's looking for visa, travel information, work permits, legal advice, finding housing, office space, and so on for the Netherlands, please do reach out to me. We're more than happy to support.
I just noticed that Ukrainian citizens might not need visas very, very soon. It's been a challenge to bring our friends and colleagues from Ukraine over to the UK. So hopefully this will bring a change as well.
Yeah, Canada is open as well. So, I'm just saying.
So thank you,
Lanny?
Russ.
Let me let Lanny go and then I'll go.
Thank you, Russ. Obviously, we're here for you in many ways, not just with hearts, but with we are willing to do whatever it takes. And we are open. And there are a number of organizations who recently started, some that were kind of just quiet, but to try to help mothers and children who are widowed get back on their feet. There are people coming into the tech sector. There's digital help. We have a lot of things going on. And I wanted to also ask Natalie, with the resources that you gave me on LinkedIn, which were very thorough, if you can post those as well. And often we will continue to add that. So we are here for you. Be safe and take care.
Thank you so much, Lenny. Thank you for that.
And Natalie, from me, just to share, so Suki Fuller is watching this. She is the co-lead of our Tech London Advocates Women Tech Group and also one of the founders of our Tech London Advocates Black Women in Tech Group. And I think she captured it well by saying, you are the epitome of resilience and determination. So we're all grateful for you. We're here for you, as many people have said. Please be safe, look after yourself and your cats. We want all of you to make it through these coming days and weeks, and we look forward to working with you and building deeper ties of collaboration across our global network. So be safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for, thank you very much for joining us today. Considering the circumstances around, we are even more grateful for that. And hopefully we will meet in person shortly. And for now, все будет Украина.
Yes, and for me,
yeah, you can still.
And for me, like the last closing details is that you said that we're going to launch this digital outlook on digital Ukraine, and I believe that once the war is over, that could be a good platform for us to discuss further initiatives and further ways how we can actually grow the sector further on. So I'm just really inviting everybody to put special attention on this, on what is going to happen. Thank you again very much, everybody, for all your help. And yes, все будет Украина. And the rest of the world. Yes, thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.